What's going on, guys? It's DigiWatch TCG coming to you with another video. Now today we're going to be going over a whole entire set, so it's going to be quite a long video, probably around an hour to be fair. And we're going to be going over EX3 Dragonic Roar. It's our third side set after Classic Collection and Digital Hazard for our side sets. We get this next week. And I think it's important that we look at the cards and you can figure out whether this is a set you want to pick up or if there's some archetypes in here that you want to try out. And I'm going to be going over a bunch of them. Not every single card, but mainly a lot of them that are played. I will mention a few cards, of course, during through each color to kind of just give you an idea of where you can play those cards as well. With that said, please like, subscribe, leave your thoughts below, and let's get into it. So looking here, it's DigimonCard.dev. They have 74 cards listed. I'm not 100% certain this is all of them. I'm not sure if there were any additional babies in this set, but we do have a Baby Digimon and a Missymon in here, and there might be more. I'm not 100% certain on that. But yeah, we are having those two eggs, but we're not going to worry about that too much. We're going to go over our red decks first, and the first one I'm really excited about is the Vmon. Now, a lot of these sets actually have multiple colors involved with them, so it may actually save a little bit of time, but I'm going to scroll down back and forth between the cards. As you can see, Vmon here is red and purple, so we're going to, or Digivolves from red and purple, so those are two colors that are related to this archetype. So starting off, we have Vmon over here. Vmon is by trashing one card with Imperial Digimon or free in its traits, you draw two. So we got something similar in our BT9 set. That was Dorumon. You trash one X antibody and you draw two. That's all it does. And as an inherited, if you have a purple one in play, while you have a purple one in play, this Digimon gets 2,000 additional DP. So it could be itself, it could be another card, it just gets 2,000 DP. That's really good. Going into our Wormmon is our other half of this, and it has the same kind of requirements, can Digivolve for red or purple. On play, reveal top three, and this is actually the first time I've ever seen this written this way, but you can add one red and purple card with free in its traits, and one card with Imperial Digimon in its name among them to your hand, and trash one card with the same core requirements, meaning red or purple and free in its traits to the trash. And then the rest go to bottom. And then all turns, if there's a red Digimon in play, this Digimon gains retaliation. So either one, the nice thing about this is that either one is good to Digivolve in raising or to just hard play. It depends on what you have in hand. Hopefully you have everything set up, because basically what you're trying to do is knock out a lot of their security in one check with nothing activating, which we'll get into the whole combo line toward the end. So that is our rookie lineup. Now going back up, we're going to be taking a look at the champion lineup. Champion lineup is Flame Digimon. Now I'm going to try to save time by just kind of talking about this. So this is Flame Digimon. This is Digivolve from red or purple from our blue for 2 cost. And if we go down here, we have the same one over here is Shadowmon, same kind of thing. And basically they have the same, you could say, reverse effects. When Digivolving, activate one of the following effects. One of your other Digimon may Digivolve into a red, purple 4, level 4 Digimon with free in its traits from your trash, which is important, for its Digivolution cost. Or you may DNA Digivolve this Digimon and one other Digimon in play into a Digimon in your hand by paying the Digivolution cost. And then they both have the DNA Digivolve inherited. So their level 5 will essentially gain the ability to DNA into the next level. Now, keep in mind that when you're looking at the Flame Digimon, which I'll just bring up here, even though I'm not going to read it, just says purple rather than red, so it's just reverse of that. And it doesn't necessarily matter if you have one in trash, because if you have one in hand, you could just Digivolve regularly from hand and trigger the DNA Digivolve from there. It just is giving you that whole entire combo line regardless. If you have it in trash, you can use from trash. If you have it in hand, you can have it in hand. It makes the deck a lot more consistent that way. So then going into our level 5s, we have a new red and purple DNA target, and it is Paildramon, and we also have one, keep in mind, this is going to be the reverse effect as well, of Dino Beamon. So looking at this one, I'm going to talk about the Digivolving and deletion effect and just kind of relate that to the other Dino Beamon, and then I'll talk about the inherited because they do have different inherits. So with this, you Digivolve it from DNA Digivolve from a red 4 and a purple 4 for 0 cost, and then when DNAing, you can play one Dino Beamon from your trash without paying the memory cost. So that's important, and the Dino Beamon has the same exact effect, it's just reverse. So when Digivolving, you can DNA, when you DNA Digivolve, you can play one Pyodramon from your trash without paying its cost. Either one, you bring it back. And then on deletion, this plays a Vmon, and the other one, of course, plays a Wormmon from your trash without paying the memory cost. So those are basically the same exact requirements. Both of them are about 8,000 DP. Play cost of 8, Digivolve regularly for 4, but you really just want a DNA. That's how this deck is supposed to be built. As inherited, it is a, if this Digimon has Imperial Digimon in its name, it gains security +1. And then as the inherited of the other one, while this Digimon has Imperial Digimon in its name, it can attack an unsuspended Digimon. So that's really cool because that allows you to get rid of problem Digimon, and even going into our higher levels, you'll see that you kind of want to do it. You want to attack into their Digimon. So that is the level 5 lineup that you usually play, usually 4 and 4. And then going into our level 6s, we have our Imperial Digimon Dragon mode, and this is another DNA, which is why you have the inherited from the level 4s. Remember, the level 4 Shadowmon and Flame Digimon both have the same effect of end of turn DNA Digivolve into a Digimon in your hand. So you DNA into your Imperial Digimon Dragon mode. And when DNA Digivolving, your opponent chooses one of their Digimon, destroy all of the your opponent's Digimon other than the chosen Digimon, and then it gets Blitz. And we know how good Blitz is. So then after that, when attacking, this Digimon gets 2,000 additional DP. So you're looking at the attack and you're saying, okay, 14,000 is pretty good. But you can also Digivolve one into one fighter mode in your hand for its Digivolution cost. And this is where the combo finalizes. And it has the Imperial Digimon fighter mode. Now look at that artwork. I'm really excited. I'm going to try to get alt arts of all these cards. But you get Digivolve for 2 from Dragon mode. It gets Piercing. Immediately gets Piercing. So that Digimon that they kept, well, it's going to get run over and you're still going to do security checks. And when Digivolving, by returning one Imperial Digimon Dragon mode from this Digimon's Digivolution card to the bottom of the owner's deck, it doesn't activate security effects on the card. It checks for the turn. So right now, I'm not 100% certain, but as far as I can tell, it says security effects. It's talking about all security effects. Tamers, Digimon, options, all security effects do not trigger. So this is something very new because a delicate plan we've had for quite a while, and it did get an errata at one point where it said option security effects don't trigger or activate when you're attacking. So this might get an errata. I'm not 100% certain. It might be just something that they missed. But as far as we know right now, it is still a security effect. And then on deletion, you can play one Wormmon and Vmon from your trash without paying the memory cost. So that's nice because if it gets deleted, then you get to just kind of start over the combo again, and you can just build up into another copy of Imperial Digimon Fighter mode. So what you're supposed to do with this, basically, just to finalize this, and then we'll go on to the next one, is you have one of these guys in Raising. So let's say your Vmon is in Raising, and you played out the Wormmon. Maybe this is turn 1, turn 2, who knows. But let's say you do that, and then you trash your Dino B, which you probably want to trash one of them to your grave, and you want to have the other one, the Pyodramon, in your hand. With everything else, you want the Fighter mode, and you want the Dragon mode in your hand, and you're going to need 6 memory to keep it your turn, but most of the time, because it has Blitz, it doesn't necessarily matter. So, what are you going to do? So, you have one Vmon in Raising, you have the Wormmon out, you promote the Vmon or the Wormmon, whichever one you have. You Digivolve into your champion level here. You Digivolve and you say, all right, I'm going to Digivolve my other guy from your trash into their level, to their champion level as well. So now you have the Shadowmon that Digivolves as well. So far, you've played 4 memories, so maybe it is already past your opponent's turn. But you have the DNA Digivolve effect that Shadowmon occurs. So now you're going to DNA into your Pyodramon or your Dino Bmon, whichever one you have in your hand, and you're going to play out the opposite side of it from your trash. So from your trash, you would get, like, let's say the Dino Bmon, and because you have the inherited from the champion here, it'll go into your Imperial Digimon Dragon mode, and Dragon mode will then get Blitz. So you'll be able to swing whether it's at their security or at their Digimon, and then when attacking gets 2,000, so it's already at 14,000 on the attack. Digivolve for 2 into the fighter mode gets piercing. Also, the security effects don't check, and you essentially do 2 checks with the ability to attack unsuspended Digimon, with the ability to do 2 checks. If you have a tie in play or you have something that gives it additional checks, then you're going to be able to do multiple checks without anything activating. Now, at the total of this, you're giving your opponent total of 6, or its cost is 6. If you go 2 for the Shadowmon, 2 for the Flamedramon, and 2 for the fighter mode, that's 6. So if you have enough, you keep your turn. If not, it's fine, as long as you don't give them too much memory. And then, if it gets deleted, then you play your Wormmon, and you play your Vmon, and you trigger their effects, and you start it all over again. So there you go. So that is basically the playstyle of that. Now, because Shoutmon was such a big influence in the BET10, and it has been around for a while, I think this deck has been kind of under the radar. It didn't see a lot of wins or tops in the JP meta, and we may see some more play from it now that we have a ban list that's going to be in effect the same day this set comes out. Now, going into our other level, our other red, we have I guess you could say they're the dragons. They are the 4-element dragons. So you have this Volcanamon, and they're all on play, basically, but they're all relative to this one tamer here, Hina. Korihara, I think is how you say it. So her effect is, if your opponent has a Digimon in play, you gain 1 memory. Then your turn, when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with Rock Dragon, Earth Dragon, Machine Dragon, or Sky Dragon in its traits, by suspending this tamer, activate one of the on-play effects. So essentially, you're turning the on-play effect into a Digivolving effect, which is really good. It's very interesting. And this is actually, believe it or not, a kind of a stun type of deck. The red is the aggression, but they both have really crazy effects. Now, I will just mention this real quick. All the guys who are leading up to this basically are searchers, except for the level 5. Now, sorry, level 5 here is deleting one of your opponent's Digimon and then playing a Hina. If you on play, or Digivolve if you have a Hina in play. So I'm really just going to be talking about the final guys here, the Volcamon here. And the other one that is sort of the same thing. I'll just talk about the level 5s and 6s, I guess. So this is Lavo Garitomon, and it has an effect that delete one of your opponent's Digimon 5000 DP or less. Then you can play 1 Hina from your hand without paying the memory cost. And then inherited, all turns, once per turn, when one of your opponent's Digimon is deleted, if this Digimon has an on-play effect, which is usually it will, gain 1 memory. In the level 5 for the this side over here, you have the Jazzarichmon, I think they're called. Jazzardmon here, anything with jazz in its name, really. This one here has an effect of, if you play a Hina, you gain 1 memory. It has an inherited of giving an additional 1000 DP if it has an on-play effect. This one is kind of like the same thing as the level 4s. And then this one over here is giving your on-play Digimon security +1. Also, de-digivolving one of your opponent's Digimon. And then you can play 1 Hina from your hand. So the level 5s basically play your Hinas, and they have like triggers to kind of get rid of Digimon on your opponent's side of the field. But what the really big part of this is actually the level 6s. So the level 6s here are Volcanamon, and I'll talk about this one first. Basically on play, which can also consider this to be an on-digivolving effect if you have Hina in play as well. Delete all your opponent's Digimon with the lowest DP. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, your opponent cannot play Digimon with a DP of 5,000 or less until the end of your opponent's turn. That right there is a really interesting effect. That means that if you pass to your opponent, they have to either hard play something that's a high level Digimon, like a level 5. Most of the time, level 4s or 5s will have 6,000, 7,000 DP, depending on what you're playing, what type of deck you're playing. Or you just Digivolve and Raising, and you leave your field blank. Which they can still do some crazy stuff. Now, this is a lingering effect, keep in mind. So, regardless of if it deleted nothing on the field, which I think it says if no Digimon was deleted by effect, yeah. So if you Digivolve this and there's nothing, your opponent's field is blank, the effect will still trigger. And then it has it 1 attacking if you have a Tamer in play, which most of the time you do have Hina in play. Trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. So trashing is a very powerful mechanic. We all know this. So this is a very powerful aggressive end to it. We also sometimes play this one, Dobrikmon. which is like kind of interesting because this one here is a rock dragon, and if it has dragon traits, you can put 5 cards underneath this to reduce the cost by 2 for each. And then this is a 3 cost, gets rush, and it also has an on-play effect, deleting one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less. But for every Digivolution card and its traits that has Dragon Soar or Cerato PS, I don't know how that said, that Digimon, you add 2000 to the DP. So if you have 5, that's 13,000 DP you can delete. That's very, very interesting play style and very powerful. So that is like the plays you have from red. Now for the black side of things, you have this. This is an amazing effect. It's wow, like quite literally wow. De-digivolve 1 on all your opponent's Digimon, then delete one of your opponent's Digimon with a play cost of 5 or less. So basically a lot of champions or rookie levels. If no Digimon was deleted by this effect, keep in mind if nothing's on the field, it still triggers. All your opponent's opponent's unsuspended Digimon can't Digivolve until the end of your opponent's turn. And then on your opponent's turn, it gets block and reboot, so it'll always be unsuspended if you have a tamer in play. So what I was testing against a friend, and he actually played this out, and I was very surprised about the lingering effect, because that means that you had to promote out. You had to swing at your opponent's security, and keep in mind it is this is a blocker reboot, so it can easily delete that Digimon if you're trying to Digivolve into it. And unfortunately, you're not going to be able to Digivolve into it, so you'll have to choose to hard play. Now, if you unfortunately give your opponent a lot of memory, they can do both of them in the same turn. You are in a very bad position, because you will not be able to do anything in the next turn, which can really hurt you. And they could just keep looping this and just stunning you. So this is a very strong deck. I think might be one of those decks that is not initially looked on as a very strong contender for meta, but it could see some play later down the line. Now, of course, just talking about the other black and red Digimon, I won't really talk too much into them, but we have a new Commandramon, so Commandramon gets a little bit of extra support. Sealdramon over here, Tankdramon over here, and Darkdramon over here. So they do get a little bit of updated support here. I won't really go into it too much. It's not that I don't like the support. I do like the support. It's just I'm trying to keep time very low. So hopefully I do. But yeah, you're able to gain additional support here, and I think D Brigade is definitely going to be a contender as well in this set. Now, going into the other ones over here, there's not many extra ones I didn't talk about. The only one that's really worth noting is just the Chaos Dramon, giving Machine Dramon a little bit of extra support, being able to de-digivolve some stuff on your opponent's side of field by putting other red and black level 5s from your hand or trash underneath it. So that's we're gonna move on. Okay, so the next one is personally one of my favorites over here. And actually, sorry, before we finish up over there, I'm gonna talk about one more thing. We do get some Dark Tyrannomon and some Guillemon support over here. This is sort of used in a sense of the 4 Great Dragons, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But we have some interesting stuff. We have some Tyrannomon support, X Tyrannomon. We have Dark Tyrannomon as our 4 and 5 respectively. And then we have some War Growlmon stuff, some Guillemon stuff. Basically, you're able to delete stuff on your opponent's side of the field. We know what Guillemon kind of does. Growlmon is kind of the same thing. You're trashing 2 cards from the top of a player's deck. So kind of doing that thing that the purple likes to do, of being able to mill stuff from your opponent's side of the field. And War Growlmon kind of does the same thing. You can play a Takato or a Guillemon from your trash if you trash has 5 or more cards. So that's kind of it's just some side support stuff. Maybe we'll get some extra support later down the line, or maybe this will be used later down the line. So that's just something to mention. All right, so let's get back to what I was saying here. So now we're going to go into blue, and we're actually going to look at blue and green and blue and yellow, because those are the other 2 supported cards in here. And we'll start, I guess, with the blue strictly, I guess if we're going to look at meta, we'll start with the Examon support. So we're going to go start with our boss monster this time, just so you can kind of see what this is. So this is a very strong meta contender. Examon. This deck might actually see play up to the point of nationals, in my opinion. You can DNA. It's a level 7, green and blue. You can Digivolve from 5, from 6, or 6, but you're usually DNAing with this card. 15 to play, 15,000 DP, and again, DNA from a green and a blue. So its effect is when Digivolving, you place one green or blue Digimon card with Drawmon, which there's a bunch in our pool here, in its name from your hand to the bottom of this Digivolution cards. Then when DNA Digivolving, you play one green or blue Digimon with Drummon in its name with 12,000 DP or less from your hand without paying its memory cost. And then all turns, once per turn, when this Digimon is suspended, like meaning like it gets suspended by an effect, or by battle, I guess, unsuspend it and suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So this is very important you remember this, because it's going to gain a lot of inherits, and you're going to find that this is a very strong and controlling, in my opinion, type of thing. It's going to be like, I could guess it's a mid-tier to control type of deck, but it does have a lot of aggression to it too. Going into our line here, we have, I'm not going to talk about too much about this, but you have a new Coromon with a new effect of Evade. Basically, if it would be deleted, and it really deletes by any effect, whether it's battle, whether it's by a card effect, you can suspend the Digimon so that it avoids getting deleted. That is the new effect that they've added into this set, which is really interesting. And it has inherited, most of these are going to be double effects, as I call them, where their effect, that is the regular effect, is also their inherited. So Coromon has Evade. And then looking at our level 5, we are looking at Wingdramon. Wingdramon is, again, another Evade. Digivolve from 3 from Coromon, by the way. You can Digivolve on green or blue. Most of these cards you can Digivolve from green or blue. Just going to mention it. And then your turn, as a level 5 Kumon, Examon in your hand may treat this card. Sorry, Examon, if you're your turn, Examon in your hand may treat this card as a level 6 Digimon for DNA Digivolving. So you don't need to work up to a level 6. You can actually keep a level 6 in your hand, which is, I think, part of the point of this card. And then, end of your turn, you can DNA Digivolve into one their Digimon with Drummon in its name, into a Digimon card in your hand by paying the Digivolution cost, DNA Digivolution cost. And as an inherited, it gains, again, the same effect, Evade. So regardless, this is going to gain Evade. At the end of, essentially, by the time this is, you get to your Examon, it will have Evade one way or another. Then, in terms of the final part of this puzzle, we have Slayer Dramon, and this is kind of a crazy effect here. So again, when this Digimon becomes suspended, unsuspend this Digimon. Again, it has to become suspended, so I believe there's an effect that would have to trigger it, whether it becomes like a blocker, or whether there's an effect that says, like, suspend one of your Digimon or something like that. It will have to trigger the effect to suspend it. Then you have start of your opponent's turn. Main phase. Now, main phase is, remember, is either when they hatch an egg or promote the egg, the Digimon in breeding. By suspending one of your Digimon with Dramon or Examon in its name, your opponent must attack with one of their Digimon. So this is really interesting, because that's why I say it controls your opponent's board. You're going to be able to say, okay, you promote your guy. All right, I'm going to make it attack. And with the greens, I'll get to it, spoiler, the greens give it blocker. So you can actually block, and most Digimon will die to that. And then it'll also have Evade, which means that you'll be able to protect it once, because most of the time when you suspend it by an effect, like this says, you can unsuspend it. So then you can use the Evade if it has something like Retaliation or something like that, in where you can actually protect it from being deleted by suspending it again. And then Inherited is exactly the same effect of starting your opponent's main phase by suspending one of your Digimon with Drummon or Examon in its name. Your opponent must attack. So now let's go into the greens, and we'll talk about that in a second. Now we have our baby over here, which is green and blue dual color. You can Digivolve for 1, or you can Digivolve from Baby Drummon for 0. You reveal the top 4 cards of your deck. When you play, add 1 blue and green card with Drummon in its name and 1 Examon among them to your hand. Return the rest to the bottom of the deck. And then basically the baby as well, Dramon. I didn't go over it, but the baby Dramon basically says if it has Dramon or Xmon in its name, and this card becomes suspended, this Digimon gets 1,000 additional DP. So essentially, that's kind of like the rookie lineup here. Cordramon, blocker, like I said, blocker as its main, blocker as its inherit. Groundramon is blocker, and then same kind of effect the other one had, where you can use this as a level 6 Digimon. There's a reason for this specifically, and at the end of your turn, you can DNA into a Digimon with Drummon in its name. And then, of course, this is the big other guy you want on the field, whether it's underneath or whether it's on the field. You have Ground Dramon, Break Dramon. Break Dramon says when this Digimon becomes suspended, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So basically, if your opponent's attacking and they have other Digimon on the field, and you say, I suspend this card for any reason, you're able to suspend it. So then one of your Digimon with Drummon or Xmon in its name deletes a Digimon in battle and survives. Trash one card from the top of your opponent's security stack. You can actually do this in a sense twice if you have the right cards. In all turns, it's the same exact thing. If something deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, trash one from the top of your opponent's security stack. So you're trashing cards from the security stack, which is a very powerful effect. So what do you want to do with all this? What does this all mean? So basically what you're trying to do is you have something in raising, like you're going to, let's say, Digivolve into a Cordramon, and then Digivolve the Cordramon into a Wingdramon. Maybe this is all in raising, and then you have something out. Maybe you have your baby Dramon out on the field, and then you Digivolve into Cordramon, and then you Digivolve into Groundramon, and then you DNA Digivolve. It gains all those effects of blocker. It gives all those effects of evade, and then of course the top end here, you're either going to put the Break Dramon underneath or the Slayer Dramon underneath. And use those level 5s if you need to as level 6s to go right into Xmon, which basically gives you, if I'm not mistaken, 16 targets in your deck that can go into Xmon, which is what you want. So then what does this mean? So most of the time on your opponent's turn, your opponent will promote a Digimon, and you're forcing it to attack the start of their main phase. So if they promote something that, let's say, is like... let's just assume they go into this guy over here, Magnetramon, 12,000 DP, and you have the Examon over here. Examon is 15,000 DP. You will say, okay, promote. All right, I'm going to trigger the effect of the Slayer Dramon or Examon and make it attack. So we'll have to attack you over here. And keep in mind that you can, by suspending one of your Digimon, you suspend it, so you can suspend itself. You can suspend one of your other Digimon. You could suspend your Examon, of course, as well, and it forces it to attack, whether it's going to be against the security or itself. But because of its own effect that lets you, says when this card is suspended, unsuspend it, and suspend one of your opponent's Digimon, you can either stun them, or you can make them attack, essentially, or, you can block with it, and then deletes it in battle, which means that now their security stack loses a card. Again, very, very powerful effect, very controlling, and not to mention that you can unsuspend it, and that way you have a second blocker here. If it were to get deleted, let's say your opponent had a retaliation effect, you can use the evade to suspend your Digimon, and then trigger other effects as well, because I think it is one of the other ones that says when it's suspended, you can unsuspend it. The Slayer Digimon, when this Digimon becomes suspended, unsuspend, you could have this over a level 5 and gain that effect. You could have multiple level 5s, multiple level 6s. It's just a very powerful deck, in my opinion. And it is something that I think is going to be very strong going into the national season. And again, if you have a Breakdramon that is underneath that stack, the one that you tuck underneath the Examon, as well as one that you play out by its effect, then you can actually trash 2 cards from their security if something is deleted, which really is going to be hard for your opponent to recover from. Now, the only thing is that it does not protect from other types of effect. For example, it won't essentially have protection from removal, like bouncing, like sending from to hand, like Kaida's Breath, or DP reduction effects like that, or even stuff that just removes like Chaos Degrade. It doesn't have removal, so there is other ways, definitely a lot of other ways to get rid of this these cards. But I do definitely think it's going to be a very powerful card just to be contending with. So that is going to be the Examon deck, and that is our blue, part of our blue and green mix. Now going into our, I'm going to keep my personal interesting deck at the end. But the next one for blue, what we're going to just quickly talk about is the, I think it's called Aegis-Dramon. But basically it's a blue. Basically I'm going to talk about this here. This is, on play, one of your blue Digimon gains blocker. If this card is played under Digivolution, from Digivolution cards, unsuspend that Digimon. So a lot of this basically allows you to play cards from underneath itself. So basically, when you play one Digivolving, you can play one level 3 Digimon, or a Digimon with Seadramon in its name, or Aqua or Sea Animal in one of its traits from underneath it. One of your blue Digimon without paying the memory cost. This basically here says when your opponent plays a Digimon, you can activate the Digivolving effect of this card. And then everything else kind of gives it like, you know, effects here. So you have like Crabmon, you have Ebidramon that being blocker. This one here is being jamming. You have I think the other one here is Mega Seadramon. Is a aquatic animal. I don't know if that Aqua is the same thing as aquatic here. Where is it here? Aqua. I don't know if aquatic is still considered that, but yeah, you have multiple ways of playing out cards. Peleosaur, this one may or may not be a target. We'll see when we get more cards. We have some Paildramon stuff that also can potentially see some play, but it doesn't look like it's going to have much play. It's just as a trashing mechanic as well. But this is going to be an interesting deck to play. Now, in terms of green, we have Hydramon. Hydramon is basically support for Bloom Lordmon. When Digivolving, you can suspend one Digimon. You can spend one Digimon, and then when an opponent's Digimon is suspended, gain one memory for each other suspended Digimon with plant, vegetation, or fairy in one of its traits you have in play. So this basically deck gives Bloomdramon some crazy extra support, and then end of turn, if you have 2 or more suspended Digimon with plant, vegetation, or fairy in one of its traits, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon to the bottom of the deck. We know how good bottom decking cards can be. So that is basically the green support here that we get. And options, I'm just going to mention here that there's not much. I'm going to talk about one particular, but everything else here essentially is support for this is like Chaosdramon. This is for trashing cards from your opponent's security stack. We'll talk about these 2 yellows in a sec. Avalon's Gate, just giving your ability to pierce and be able to suspend or unsuspend Digimon. This one I think is for the Sky Dragons and stuff like that. This is just a de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. And then we have this one over here being delete one of your opponent's Digimon. You may delete one of your opponent's level 6 or lower Digimon instead. It's just Guillemon support. There's really not much here. And again, I'm pretty certain this is a pretty small set. So there's 74 cards listed here, and I don't think anything was missed. But yeah, that is basically everything from the set. Now let's get into the yellow. And the yellow is quite honestly the hardest one I can kind of defend as a meta deck. But I will say that there's definitely some play you can play with it. So basically, it's the 4 Great Dragons. If you don't know, there are 4 Great Dragons in the lore of Digimon. Zulongmon is one of them. Over here, you have Goldramon, which is basically the ultimate form, the mega form for Patamon or Magna Angemon, whatever you want to call it. And then Magnadramon for the what's her name? My goodness, Angel Woman. And then we have the final one over here, which is Megidramon, which is the evil dragon or one of the 4 great dragons still. So those are the 4 great dragons, and basically it's like you basically play this as a win con type of deck. So and with one specific option as well, which I guess we'll talk about the option first since it is relative to everything else. So you have this card. It's an 8 cost over here, but most of the time you're not playing the 8 cost. You're holding in hand. So This is what it is. Main, you draw one card. Then this card is placed in the battle area. And then on delay, you can play 4 Great Dragons and its traits from your hand without paying the memory cost. Digimon played by this effect can't digivolve to level 7s and is deleted at the end of your opponent's turn. So you basically have one turn to do something with each card, but that's okay. The way the deck works is good. It's just there is a little bit of inconsistency with it. Now, I guess I'll talk about the how should I talk about this? I guess I'll talk about the line up to it, and then I'll talk about the Great Dragons themselves. So Agumon here is basically when you play Digimon with 4 Great Dragons and its traits or place, you gain in battle you draw 1. So this is just an extra draw as a rookie here. You basically are going to be playing a lot of 4-ofs of the level 3s. Patamon is a searcher. It basically gets anything in the archetype. So Angel, Archangel, Fallen Angel, Virtue, Sephra, Authority, Throne, Cherub, or other than 3 Great Angels in one of its traits, and 1 card with 4 Great Dragons in its traits, which I think the option also has in its traits. Then return the rest to the bottom of the deck. Just to make sure, I'm going to just check here. Yeah, 4 Great Dragons is in its traits over here. It's hard, it might be hard to see on the video, but it is there. So that's for the rookies over here. I'm sure you can play some other yellow rookies or draw cards in this deck, because you do want to draw in this deck. On play, this is looking at your security stack and reveal 1 card in it, add it to your hand. If that card is yellow, trigger recovery, draw recover 1, then shuffle your security stack. So this is interesting that you can play this card and just recover 1 after looking. It's kind of like a TK in a sense. That's just like a hard play version of it. It's interesting. I don't know if it's played in the deck. I don't really think it is, but just another option here to use. Gatomon is because it's kind of the same effect as the Patamon. You can search for everything here, and then you can add the 4 Great Dragons. And then this is the big thing. This is a very important thing. This is why you play 4 of this card, is when a Digimon with 4 Great Dragons is played, that Digimon gets Rush. So it will be able to attack the same turn it comes out. Digimon over here, reveal the top 4 cards of your deck, add 1 yellow Digimon with Trouble in its name and 1 4 Great Dragons in its traits among them to your hand, place the remaining to the bottom, and then again, same kind of effect, gives it Rush. So you can play, if you have Gatomon, you can play 4 of these, you can play 4 Digimon. Basically, you want your level 4s at maxed out. This is really nothing too much. It just gives one of your opponent's Digimon -2 security checks. And then if you have a Digimon with 4 Sovereigns and its traits in play, gain 2 memory. So it's a hard play, but I don't know if it's necessarily played in the deck. Then you have Arrow Digimon. So this one is very important as well. So you do want this on top of either the Gatomon or the Digimon. If you don't have a Trial of the Great Dragons in play, you can place 1 from your hand into the battle area. And then opponent's turn, while you have a Digimon with 4 Great Dragons in its traits, or Trial the Great Dragons in play, this Digimon gets blocker. So you're going to have a 7,000 blocker, or even like a stronger blocker if you go up 1 more level. Angel Woman is similar to that when digivolving. If you don't have a Trial, I'm just going to call it Trial. In your battle area, you can place 1 from your hand, and then when you play a Digimon with 4 Great Dragons and its traits, in your battle area, 1 of your opponent's Digimon gets -3,000 for the turn, so it can get rid of small rookies, problem cards, maybe floodgate cards. And then as an inheritable, when you play a Digimon with 4 Great Dragons in its traits, or place Trial of the Great Dragons from your battle into your battle area, 1 of your opponent's Digimon gets 3,000 again. Again, it doubles the effect down. It's not bad. I mean, I feel like the Arrow Digimon's much more important being a blocker, because you're not really having a lot of defense on your end. You're going to have to try to recover as much as you can in this deck. So I could see this definitely being played as sort of a win con for like a security control deck maybe. But I definitely can see that. And I didn't see it do much in the JP meta, honestly. But I still want to try it out, because these are some of my favorite Digimon. The Digimon line is always one of mine. And then the Angels, I really love the yellow Angels here. They're some of my favorites. So let's get into the last part of this video over here. We're almost done. We're about 40 minutes in. And we're going to talk about the 4 Great Dragons. We'll start with the ones that are not yellow, because I think the yellows are most important. And then we'll talk about this one. So this is just a non-play draw 2. And if this Digimon is played by Trial of the Great Dragons, you gain 2 memory. So keep in mind that when you play the Trial, you may be giving your opponent a lot of memory if you're playing it. If you're playing it by an effect, hopefully you're able to maybe keep it your turn. And then on deletion, if you don't have a Trial in play, you can play one from your hand to your battle area. And keep in mind that this gets rush. So your goal is that this would die and be in your trash because of one of the other effects that will trigger. And it's draw 2, gain 2 memory. This is what blue does. It's a good example of everything that is blue. Draw 2 and gain 2 memory. So that is the blue version here. That is the one you definitely want to start with to kind of get out and draw cards, gain memory from it. Megidramon is another good one here. On play, delete one of your opponent's Digimon, level 5 or lower Digimon. If this Digimon is played by the effect of Trial of the Great Dragons, add 1 to the max level so you can delete a level 6 instead. And then on deletion, you can place one from your hand to the battle area. Again, this is a way of clearing problematic cards on your opponent's side of the field. And these ones you want in your trash. Those are the 2 you definitely want in trash. The third one here that you want in trash is this one over here, Magna German, which is basically all your opponents that you want to get -1 security checks, so that's pretty good. And then if this Digimon is played by the effect of a Trial of the Great Dragons, all your opponent gets -2 security checks until the end of your turn. So again, a good example of what yellow does. On deletion, you play the Trial card from your hand. Now, why even play these cards? Like that, it seems like you're setting up for something really big, and that's kind of why this deck is sort of looked at as like it could do some good stuff. It may not. If there's a lot of fast decks in the meta, it may not win. But if you're somehow able to recover and keep yourself alive for the entire turn, then you have this card here, which is why you essentially win this game. Now, keep in mind that everything has rush so far, that what I've talked about with the battles. So you essentially need 3 trial cards to be in your hand, and that is again a problem if you have 50 cards in your deck and you don't have these in time. It may be problematic. There is a way of recycling from the trash, but we'll talk about that in a second. And again, you want these in trash, so you want them to die. And the final one here is Goldgemon. Now, this is a Digivolving effect, very different from the other ones. So keep in mind that in most cases, the opponent will have 5 security, and you're attacking with Zulongmon, which is 1 check, Magnadramon, which is a 2nd check, and the Megidramon, which is a 3rd check. So they should have 2 cards left in their security if they're not playing a yellow or security control type of deck. And we are playing this card here. So this card here is 1 Digivolving. You can return 1 card with 4 Great Dragons and its traits from your trash to your hand. So this can include the Trial card as well to your hand. And then so that is very important. And this is the one you, again, want on top of your Arrow Vidramon. And then when attacking, let me see over here. When attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets -6,000 for the turn. So it gets rid of something maybe small on the field, or maybe mid, maybe like a champion level. Then by returning 1 Magnadramon, 1 Azulongmon, and 1 Megidramon from your trash to the bottom of your deck, trash the top 2 cards of your opponent's security stack. So this will get rid of those last 2 pesky cards in the security. And to keep in mind, you're attacking with this card. So I think the goal of this card here was that you promote out your stack. You have 3 in your trash. You Digivolve into this for 3. Hopefully it's your turn still. And when attacking, you get rid of a blocker, something that's like a 6,000 blocker. Most Digimon are 6,000 or less as far as blockers go. And then by returning 1 Magnadramon, Azulongmon, and Megidramon, you trash the last 2, and then this essentially attacks for game. So that is essentially the goal of the deck, is to set up for this guy for one final push to get rid of the rest of their cards. And essentially that is kind of the deck. I mean, it's really interesting to me. I love yellow, and I honestly want to see this deck succeed. But it is a very fragile deck. It could potentially break very easily, especially if your opponent's playing something that does a lot of checks to your security, and you're not able to get a blocker out, or your opponent's able to get rid of your Arrow Vidramon, and you're just not getting your pieces in time, especially if you clunk them together. So definitely power shuffle this deck. I would say that's going to be a very important thing when you're playing this deck. But it could do well. I mean, we don't know yet, of course, in next week. But that pretty much sums up everything that's in this deck. Oh, and one more card I forgot to mention here is the Final Flame. So this was the extra support card that you do get in playing in this deck, where you play one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 6,000 for the turn. Then you can return one card with 4 Great Dragons and its traits from your trash to your hand. So again, what you can do is you can play this card, get rid of a card on their side, and then if you are still looking for a Trial of the Great Dragons, you can recycle this card back to hand by using the Fatal Flame card. So that's just a way, an extra 4 cards. Definitely going to be 4 copies. I basically you, if you're looking at like the entire deck, it's 4, 8, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, and then depending on the ratios, I would say 4 of this one, so 28, and then maybe 2 or 3 of these ones, so maybe 30, 4 of these ones, so you want 34, and then this one over here being 38, maybe less, maybe 36, and then 4 of the trials, which is going to be around 40 cards, and then maybe the Final Flame, which is 44, and then the progress being like Tamers and such like that, or recovery cards and such. So that is pretty much how you play the deck. It's everything you could pretty much gain from here. You just play from this from buying the set. So if you are new to the game and you want to try a fun deck that basically is very it may be inconsistent, but it might be real fun when you pull it off. You could definitely consider picking up this set, and you probably get everything in 1 or 2 shots. It looks like these cards are going to be rares, if I'm not mistaken. This one is a rare, this one is a rare. This might be super rare. Yeah, this is going to be a super rare, the Galdramon. This is going to be a rare, so pretty much those are going to be very easy to get. The 4 Great Dragons card, let's see what that is. That looks like a rare too, so it looks like that's pretty easy to get. This is going to be a common, the Fatal Flame. And then everything else here, like Arrow Digimon, rare. Angel Woman uncommon, so those are going to be very easy to get. So with that said, that's pretty much everything from the set here. I am very excited for this set. I didn't like too many of the archetypes that were coming out from BT10 in all respect. There's only a few that I am going to be trying out, which I like very much. But it's not really my cup of tea, just to be fair. But this looks like it's going to be a fun set. It's going to spice up the meta, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, guys. Hope you had a wonderful time, and I hope this gives you a good idea of what you want to play in the BT10 EX3 meta.